I don't podcast, I zombie takeout. Hard. What's up? Welcome to episode 308 of Zombie Takeout. The B-Movie and Cult Movie Podcast. I'm Uncle John.
And I'm Scotto.
And without any further ado, let's just get straight to this week's movie, and let's get it over with.
How did we both make it through this?
I don't know. Yeah, we didn't tap out. I think if we didn't tap out on Showgirls, Batman and Robin, or this, I don't think there's a movie we're gonna tap out on.
I was damn close to tapping out. There were so many scenes where I was like ready to start clicking the scan forward button. I'm like, fuck this.
Before we get into that, of course, this week's movie is from 2015, 50 Shades of Grey. I still have to say it like that, and I've already watched it. Of course, that brings us to the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by Narrative Fiction in the English Language, who would like to apologize for the content of this franchise and assure you that they were just innocent victims in this heinous crime against storytelling.
And also brought to you by Damaged Goods. Why else would someone stray from the norm? All right, so we have who I thought was a high school student at first.
Yeah, when they said student film, or student paper, rather. Yeah, it kind of gives you the impression that she's a little younger than she is.
Like, my jaw was like, what are they doing here? No one said anything about an underage girl. Oh, I didn't know it was going to be that kind of party. It wasn't.
She was a college student writing for her college paper.
She was a college student writing for her college paper and interviewing 27-year-old millionaire, who gives a fuck? He's a rich guy. Yeah. That's really all you need to know. And he's, always in control. And, of course, she's completely smitten by him. They kind of flirt a bit, if you consider that flirting. And then they wind up dating a bit. I guess you could loosely call that dating. He doesn't date.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. He doesn't do relationships.
Yes, he's incapable of doing relationships.
Also, as I mocked in my intro, at one point he says, I don't make love, I fuck. They actually pulled out that line.
I was hoping for, when she's asking what he's afraid of, I was hoping he was going to say, I was just afraid of myself. From like the Orgasmo. They were really close to it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's got a kink, and she's a virgin. And what better way to just kind of pull her into his world than just have a whole contract where he pretty much lays out everything that he, expects of her. And they go over it in great detail. They talk about it for a good half hour of the film. And then when he actually performs one of the actions from the contract, she gets angry and breaks up with him.
Mm-hmm.
And hilarity ensues.
Well, actually, yeah, it kind of does for the first half, I thought. The first half of this film, for me, was a brilliant unintentional comedy. By about a half hour in, I was practically falling out of my chair laughing.
I don't know. Maybe it was just, I was kind of resigned at the last half hour of it. But the first hour and a half, I was really just going to start banging my head against the desk.
I mean, the first scene in the office, it was practically a Robert Palmer video.
Right. They're
all of these blondes with their hair tied back, like painfully tight in these black dresses, who were Christian Grey's staff.
Palmer liked the dark hair.
Well, yeah. Aside from that, but I mean,
okay.
it really just reminded me of a Robert Palmer video, and I've seen actually better dialogue in porn. I mean, people make fun of porn dialogue. It's worse in this movie. I have seen the entire Twilight series, well, except for the last movie. I haven't braved that one yet. They're all better than this movie.
And the conclusion I drew from it was that Dakota Johnson and what's his name aren't necessarily bad actors.
I'd
Jamie
have to
Dornan.
see them in other roles to decide.
Right. Because who could... I mean, they could have had Uta Hagen and Olivier do this shit, and you would have gotten the same results.
Uh-huh.
The script is just that bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not going to judge them as actors. I'm kind of snarkily going to later, but yeah, I won't actually judge them as actors. I mean, Dakota Johnson is the spawn of Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith, so there's not much of a pedigree there in terms of acting skill. Jamie Dornan, I know nothing about, other than he's hashtag not my Christian.
Yes. John Oliver, not my Christian. Not my Christian.
But I bring up Twilight specifically because the 50 Shades trilogy was developed from a Twilight fan fiction, originally titled, get this, Master of the Universe.
Oh, nice.
And published episodically on fanfiction websites under the pen name Shadow Queen's Ice Dragon.
What?
E.L. James, who wrote it. Yeah, she went by Shadow Queen's Ice Dragon. The piece featured characters named after Stephanie Meyer's characters in Twilight, Edward Cullen and Bella Swan. After comments concerning the sexual nature of the material, James removed the story from fanfiction websites, published it on her own site, 50shades.com. She later rewrote Master of the Universe. The Grayskull jokes are coming to me.
T-Man and She-Ra?
As she later rewrote it as an original piece with the principal characters renamed Christian Grey and Anastasia Steele, and removed it from her website before publication. Meyer, the author of Twilight, commented on the series saying, "That's not really my genre, not my thing. Good on her, she's doing well, that's great."
Alrighty then.
So the person whose work she based the idea on is kind of like, yeah, whatever. But okay, Snow Queen's Ice Dragon and Master of the Universe. I'd listened to parts of the audiobook a while back, before I ever saw the movie, obviously, because I didn't see the movie till today.
I wouldn't mind listening to the Gilbert Gottfried version.
No, absolutely. It honestly sounds like it was written by a 12-year-old. And while you were doing the plot summary, I looked up E.L. James's age.
You're not paying attention to me while I'm doing the plot summary?
Well, in this case, I normally do, but in this case, no. I was, because I'd forgotten to look it up ahead of time. She's 53.
Holy shit, really?
She's 10 years older than us, and Twilight was maybe 10 years ago.
So Grandma's going to tell us a story about BDSM.
So she wrote this, which sounds like it was written by a 12-year-old with no life experience, when she was about our age.
And then they took something from the candy dish.
That's mind-blowing.
Told you I miss characters.
That is mind-blowing that a woman in her 40s wrote this.
Yeah. Oh.
And she's married.
Alrighty.
But you talked about how, there may be good actors. I couldn't help but hope in the middle of the movie that it kills their careers.
I don't know. There's so many bad movies that are made these days that I don't think it really...
This is going to be a series, by the way. This is the first of 3.
Yeah. And Kristen Stewart still has a career.
Well, yeah, she pivoted, though. And she did prove that she can act.
It depends what they do outside of this. Because, I mean, when the written material is bad...
They didn't have much of a choice with the material, you're right.
I guess the shocking thing about her being of our age when she wrote this was that it just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of life experience.
No, it's not just the verbiage. I mean, the dialogue is hideous. I like I said, better in porn. I've seen student films that were better written and less awkward. But it really is just the story, the naivete of the story.
Right.
That's just mind-blowing.
The simplicity of it all. The fact that there's no way that someone would just like doing this or be inclined to do it.
Well, yeah.
There had
the
to
judgmental aspect of it is disturbing.
It's very disturbing that there had to be some sort of flaw in both of them. One has daddy issues and the other, gets touched as a child. Right. So, okay, has a relationship as a child, which... Wow, knowing that this was an older woman that
minuscule
wrote this,
difference there.
God damn. That was my recoil and disgust, by the way. So nobody think that I'm just because it was a woman of our age writing this.
Right.
I was thinking of that scene where he had a relationship with an older woman when he was 15.
Right. And there is just zero subtlety.
Oh, of course.
There's a scene after their initial meeting where she's in class and she's got a pen up to her mouth and gray is written on the pen.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Could they have been more on the nose? I couldn't tell if it was hilarious or disgusting. And I know they probably won't, but I desperately want MST3K to take a shot at this.
Oh, of course.
I mean, there are pauses you can drive a truck through. I mean, at one point he says, "My tastes are very singular. You wouldn't understand." It leaves enough room for like 20 barnyard or lawn gnome jokes or whatever you want to throw out there.
Well, if you want to talk about pacing, there's a kiss in the first 30 minutes. Like, or after 30 minutes, really. That's how long it takes to get to that. Really, this is like a Skinamax movie with an entire hour added to it.
Yeah. And a worse plot, because again, I've seen my fair share of those, and they're actually better in terms of plot.
I mean, couldn't they have ran a car wash or something? No, actually, what would have been more compelling? Okay, anything would have been more compelling. But what would have improved this
paint
particular
drying would have
story
been more compelling.
Is
replacing the actors with potted plants would have been more compelling.
Oh wow! Could you imagine like Monty Python, like the trees delivering the lines?
I think that's where I got that from.
Why did Christian Grey have to be a rich dude? I mean, wouldn't it have been more compelling if these were just regular people?
Stereotypes. Or I should say cliches.
If they just worked in the hardware store together, like he was a new hire or something, and, you know, they strike this relationship up and he introduces her into this other world and stuff. He just knew his shit because he worked in hardware.
But then it wouldn't be the cliche of the rich, powerful guy.
Yeah, which... aren't they usually the other way because they usually are in control during...
Well, yeah, that's generally how it works is if you're a powerful person in your normal life, you tend to be more submissive and vice versa, typically. As I've mentioned before, I spend a lot of time in the more interesting parts of the internet.
Ah.
But yeah, so he was a bit atypical in that sense. This could be the greatest midnight movie ever with the right comeback lines.
Oh, definitely.
Because some of those pauses, I mean, they were setting up jokes. I think that's why it worked as an unintentional comedy for me, because I just kept hearing comeback lines.
The amount of sadness I felt when I saw 2 hours and 8 minutes on my time allotted here, I was just... That was just soul crushing.
I mean, I actually had my own comeback line. Anytime he mentioned that he didn't sleep with anyone, I couldn't resist a bedwetting joke. And when she asked what are butt plugs, did you go immediately to the Opie and Anthony bit?
No.
I did. You know the bit I'm talking about, right?
No, I don't remember.
They called somewhere, I forget where it was, and all Opie said, I think it was Opie, was butt plugs to every question.
Well, that part, too, is really what's infuriating about the entire plot. He pretty much told her on so many occasions to think this through, look up research, look everything up, laid everything out there for her, and still at the end to be like, you would want to do that to me? And
from the other side, she was really laying on the hesitation very heavily.
Yeah.
And he didn't read it at all. What kind of a dom is he? You know, you don't push forward with that shit.
More like a Dom DeLuise, am I right? Hey! Ho!
I mean, and it really was obvious early on, because he saves her from getting sexually assaulted at the bar when she's drunk. But then he's crawling all over her the next day.
Just picture the Dom DeLuise, ladies.
Please don't. In that first sex scene, I don't think I've ever been less interested in a sex scene. And that's weird for me.
I mean, it was, brief. It was kind of, Angled, shall we say?
Well, yeah, I think maybe that was part of the problem. Well, the cinematography was an issue in this movie, and I rarely ever call that out. But it was bad.
This porn had the worst cinematography ever.
There's one scene where she's reading over the contract, or you're hearing his voice reading the contract, and she thinks back to him kind of crawling on top of her. And I just couldn't help but think Creatures of the Night.
Creatures of the Night?
Exactly. Rocky Horror?
I thought you were going to say Creatures of the Night. They say it like...
Well, I said, then you said it. It worked.
Creature of the Night?
It worked. But I couldn't help but think of that scene. Which, again, perfect midnight movie.
Coming! Nothing. You're supposed to say so's Brad.
It's been ages. Dude, it's been like 20 years since I've seen that movie in a theater.
Dude! How do you forget a line like that?
But on the more interesting side, in terms of the movie, this is probably the only movie we'll ever review that mentions anal fisting.
Or vaginal fisting.
Yeah. I just figured that was the more interesting of the two.
Orgasmo didn't mention anything like that, huh?
Ooh, I forgot about Orgasmo. I don't think they went to anal fisting.
They just did the DVD.
yeah, exactly.
Why they didn't play that during the Trump inauguration? The Team America. I don't know.
Incidentally, Bret Easton Ellis expressed his desire to write the screenplay. The author of American Psycho wanted to write the screenplay for this.
There's very Patrick Bateman about him.
Fair point, yeah. Angelina Jolie was offered a chance to direct, but declined.
Dodged a bullet.
The cast learned their lines in 5 days, which could explain some of the performances.
Knowing that explains a lot, too, with some of the minor actresses in this, where I was kind of like, what are they doing? Like, the minor characters just really seemed lost. Like, her roommate, his brother, they all just seemed like, what the fuck are we even doing here, kind of. They just would wander in.
In certain scenes, it was kind of like The Room with sex, or more sex, because there was some sex in the room.
Yeah.
Also, E.L. James wielded a large amount of creative control over everything from casting to the wardrobe to the final script. Unusual for any novelist, let alone one whose only published work was a single series of 3 books. This led to no end of disputes between her and Sam Taylor Johnson, the director. While Taylor Johnson wanted to make a more streamlined adaptation, James was very protective of her book and vetoed even the most minor deviation from it. And since James was the one with final say on all creative decisions, Johnson often found herself forced to go along. Incidentally, Sam Taylor Johnson will not be directing these sequels.
So, I mean, I wonder if they had improvements or if they would have just made it worse.
I'm normally really picky about adaptations. I kind of want to see the book on camera when I like the book. But I think they probably could have been improvements in this case.
Like if they had casted the Dom DeLuise.
Ha. Also, cinematographer Seamus McGarvey revealed that he and his team digitally added in shots of visible pubic hair.
Really?
And that it was not real. Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan both wore sheer modesty patches, often used in sex scenes, to cover themselves while shooting. So the pubes were digital, as was the brief shot of his member. It's actually in his contract that he would not do any lower frontal nudity. So yeah, that was also CG.
Huh. All right.
The real problem with the film for me is the second half, because then he gets really creepy. He stalks her to the point where he follows her to Georgia.
Well, he's creepy from the very beginning.
Well, he's creepy from the very beginning, but he gets even more so. I mean, he gets abusive, actually, beyond creepy, just abusive in the second half. I mean, the first BDSM scene was just disturbing, and like I said, I'm kind of into that sort of thing. He's oblivious to her hesitation every time.
True.
Which is a crime. And her mother didn't even notice when he showed up in Georgia, and she was clearly uncomfortable with it. Her mother just walks away and leaves them alone.
Right. Like, oh.
She also said that her mother said that Anastasia's father wanted to meet Christian. They'd already met at her graduation.
Was it her current husband? I mean, I don't know.
Maybe that was the case. Maybe it was. Yeah, I forgot they were divorced. So that makes sense. Okay, you're probably right.
because the deal was she has daddy issues, of
Mhm.
course, because I
Yeah.
think like one died when she was young, and now she was on her fourth
Yeah.
husband, so
Okay. Yeah.
can't just be normal and want to
Hmm.
explore.
Yeah, and apparently she wanted him to punish her so she could be close to him. Maybe that's part of the daddy issues.
Yeah.
Which again just gets into the troubling message of the film. Many people in the BDSM community consider the book and movie to be offensive because it has dangerous behavior and does not fully follow the ideas of safe, sane, and consensual. They feel this feeds into negative stereotypes of BDSM practitioners, and it absolutely does.
Oh yeah, without doubt.
Also, didn't texts written on the screen get old after Sherlock? Text messages? I mean, they were cool when Sherlock first did them, but they got old real fast.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but how else are we gonna, reveal? It's such a part of our lives now.
Well, but you can just show the screen. They did that a few times too.
Yeah.
I mean, they were so obviously borrowing from Sherlock with that scene.
Yeah, true.
I'm kind of done with my notes.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how I have in my notes like, dude, this is torture. I don't think I'm gonna make it through this. This is just so
Yeah.
painful.
Yeah, I have like just random jokes and whatnot.
Yeah. Say I'm done with my notes as well.
On to sequels and remakes.
Oh God.
In April 2015, The Hollywood Reporter reported that E.L. James, I keep wanting to reverse those and say Ellie, that E.L. James' husband, Niall Leonard, I'm guessing on the pronunciation of his first name because it's spelled on Niall, was enlisted to write the script for the film's sequel. I don't know if her husband is a filmmaker or a scriptwriter. I suspect he's probably not.
I mean, is she really a writer in the first place?
Fair point. In the same month, at the 2015 Universal CinemaCon in Las Vegas, Universal announced the release dates of the sequels, with 50 Shades Darker scheduled for February of this year, and 50 Shades Freed, apparently she's finally going to dump him, scheduled for February of next year. The sequels will not see Sam Taylor Johnson returning as director. On August 20th, 2015, the U.S. House of Cards director James Foley was the frontrunner to direct the sequel. Why? House of Cards is good.
I haven't seen, actually. It's been a while since I've watched.
Well, maybe it went downhill, but I've only seen the first season and the beginning of the second, but it was better than this, obviously.
Yeah, those first two seasons were really good.
In November of 2015, Universal Studios announced that both films will be shot back to back. There's a joke there.
I was hoping if they just took the Matrix titles, like 50 Shades Reloaded and 50 Shades Revelations.
Put a big dance scene in one of them.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it was. On the positive side, a spoof version of the film, 50 Shades of Black, was released on January 29th last year in North America.
Tell me it's like Tracy Morgan.
Marlon Wayans and Rick Alvarez wrote the script, in which Wayans stars as Christian Black. I think I need to see that.
I think I do too.
On to Brains.
On to Brains.
Like I said, I really kind of enjoyed the first half as an unintentional comedy, but then it got creepy and had some very bad messages, and it's a 0.
Man. This was just absolutely soul sucking. It didn't just suck; it soul sucked. It looked decent though, so I'll give it 1.
All right, and what have we learned?
We learned that vanilla comes in 50 flavors and takes a long time to do it.
You reworked your sponsor to what have I learned?
I did. Yeah, actually, originally what I learned is I might consider doing some of those things for a first class upgrade too.
And I learned that potted plants can actually find work as actors. All right, so until next time, when we'll be doing a bit of a change of plans. We were going to review Class of Duke 'Em High next week. We're pushing that off a week again, because you had mentioned you want to review Secretary.
Yeah, it's kind of like we did for the last 2 weeks, where we saw a movie like, there's another one we should do right up against it.
And I'd seen Secretary a couple of times years ago, and had almost forgotten about it, but it is actually a very similar film.
she probably got a lot from the book
Yeah, yeah.
from that, considering.
Mm-hmm. Actually, the movie might be old enough that she would have been influenced by it.
Well, right, because the book came out, like, shortly after the movie, I think.
Yeah. Or before, you mean?
The movie, Secretary is from 15 years ago.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was that old. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so until then, go to zombietakeout.com, check out the album art, the episode description, of course, the episode itself, which you're already listening to. Links to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube. Links to subscribe via RSS and iTunes. Please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. Also, if you enjoy the show, spread the word. Give us a little word of mouth. Of course, we appreciate all of the listeners we have, but more would be better. You'll also find the movie list, every movie we've reviewed so far, and every movie we're going to review. I think it's up to Beastmaster. That's the last one we have in order.
Wow.
You'll also find the request form. If you've got a movie you'd like to hear us review, please leave it on the request form. And, of course, the recommendations list.
So
Never
close.
had a chance. Actually, well, no, for that first half, I was actually pondering a 5 in the same way I gave The Room a 4.5. Because I really kind of loved that first half.
This is no Room, though.
No. Of course, you can email us zombietakeout@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at 414-368-ZTO1 or for the alphanumerically challenged.
Red!
414-368-9861. Of course, always remember that you'll always be calling from the middle of Milwaukee. And until next time, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there you are.
Sure I can't persuade you to stay?
Good night, Christian.
So, new year, new Star Wars movie, we have to talk about it in the outro early on in the year.
Yeah.
Well, actually, last year was a Star Wars movie, not New Year, but new discussion of a new Star Wars movie.
These little B and cult movies that are like grossing $1 billion.
This is why we don't officially review them, even though we did the thing for 100. This time, of course, it is Rogue One, a Star Wars saga. Is that the full title?
I think it's a Star Wars story.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was story or saga. So, I'll just start off with, I have a very unpopular opinion. I didn't really like it. I think it's wildly overrated.
I've been curious as to why. I mean, I found it a very enjoyable movie, but I mean, I wouldn't put it up there on the top.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with expectation management, as I've talked about before. With TFA, which we also disagreed on in the opposite direction, I went in expecting nostalgia and I got it. With Rogue One, seeing all of the, talk about it online for a while before I had a chance to see it, I went in expecting a really serious movie that didn't feel like Star Wars. And it felt too much like Star Wars for me.
Wow.
I know, I'm complaining about a Star Wars movie being too Star Wars. But this one didn't need to be Star Wars. And by too Star Wars, I mean, there was an obscene number of references. It was like, the annoying guy who says, hey, remember that part where that really funny thing happened? Constantly reminding you of these really funny parts from older movies. Or really fun parts, when Dr. Evazan showed up, I'm like, okay, that's cute. Get it out of the way. And then they wouldn't stop. And also the music cues from the other movies, or that sounded like they were from other movies. It was this dark, serious, effectively a heist movie. And then they'd throw in these fun adventure themes, and it just didn't work.
It's more than a heist. It's more of like it's a war movie, really.
Well, yeah, it is a war movie, but I mean, the main plot is kind of a heist, effectively. Also, and this is why it's in the outro, full spoilers.
Oh yes, spoilers.
They didn't need to kill everybody.
That is where it was different from other regular Star Wars.
Yes, but it was too emo. It's like the original ending of Clerks, which when I was in my 20s, I kind of liked. But as I've gotten older, I've realized Kevin Smith was right. Dante didn't need to die.
Yeah. But in this case, they did, because they had to. I mean, why else would these guys be around for the original trilogy.
Well, wait. I have an answer to that, because I've answered this a few times. Obviously, this movie's been out for a while. I saw it a while ago, so I've had lots of time to discuss it online. Killing them all is actually more problematic for the future movies than not killing them. Because the many Bothans who died before Return of the Jedi got eulogized. These guys didn't.
Mm.
And if they had survived, they'd just be random rebels in the background. They did a job. Who cares?
They probably would have been held in very high regard if they had survived it, though. You know,
they did a job. They returned. Maybe they would get a little, medal ceremony at the end of the movie, but then they just go back to work.
It's why their leadership positions were open for Solo and Mando.
Possibly, yeah.
Luke, because every motherfucker got killed.
But why didn't they get eulogized like the many Bothans? That's
a very good question.
It's because that was 77 and, George Lucas didn't know this was going to happen. But that is a bit of a plot hole. Also, Jin and, what was his name? Cassius didn't even try to leave the planet. There were ships nearby. They could have flown. And I just liked a lot of the characters. I liked K2. I liked the pilot. I didn't want to see them die. They could have at least tried. Maybe they didn't get away. Maybe kill them that way. But at least have them try.
But that's what made this unique. That it wasn't like and we all just got out of the Death Star.
Fair point. But at least have them try instead of just sit down in the sand and, almost kiss and give up.
The ending reminded me of, which movie? It's one of those Deep Impact movies, I think it was, where I think it was the one with Tia Leone, and they're, watching the tsunami just getting ready to come and crash on them.
It just seemed too fatalistic, especially for this crew who had done this amazing job. Maybe just kill, Mr. Definitely Not a Jedi and his Chewie substitute sidekick. Because let's be honest, they should have just called him a Jedi, and the guy with the gun was Chewie.
If he was a Jedi, they would have gotten out.
Well, fair point, but I mean, he was a Jedi in all but the lightsaber.
True, but I mean, they were hunted out. He would have been.
In that sense, yeah, he would have gone extinct, but. That's true. Yeah, they couldn't call him a Jedi, but yeah. I don't know. That just annoyed me that they were making him so much a Jedi, but refusing to say he's a Jedi. Oh, and also the scene on Edu, the second planet, where they see her father.
Yeah.
Could have been cut. It slowed down the pacing, and there's nothing there that needed to... That couldn't have been shunted to the third planet. Scarif, I think it was called.
Well, you're saying if they just did all the action on one planet rather than going from...
Well... Okay, they snuck onto this planet, they watched the Imperials do something, her father got killed, they left. And there was a bit of a scuffle between Jin and Cassius.
This is where they learned where the plans were, though, I think.
It just slowed the movie down, and they could have found that another way. That wouldn't have been so time-consuming.
It was her father quest.
Yeah.
Which is what brings it into the Star Wars family.
Well, yeah, and you could have killed him on Scarif. And still had that little, conflict and done all the things without slowing it down with this extra planet.
But then the puzzling thing was the rebels not wanting to get into the send people for the plans.
Mm-hmm. That's another explanation as to why they wouldn't have necessarily been lauded as heroes afterwards. They were doing this against orders.
Yeah.
So maybe they wouldn't have gotten the medal ceremony and been considered heroes. Maybe they would have been drummed out. Which would have explained why you didn't see him again.
There are people that were just like, we're going to go fucking help them right away.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
Oh yeah, it was of course the band of 3 or 4 of them who then recruited all of the rebels who were willing to go against orders. A very old storyline. But Star Wars, I can't dang it for an old storyline.
I mean, I think... the only complaints I really had, I kind of agreed with you about a little too heavy-handed on the references. I mean, how would he doesn't like you guys have made it to Tatooine after that planet pretty much got destroyed?
Right, yeah.
Unless they were the luckiest bastards in the world that were just on their way to a ship.
And they were just the first one, because I didn't catch any before seeing Dr. Evazan. And they made that blindingly obvious that, yeah, here's Dr. Evison. And how did he get to Tatooine? Well, the planet wasn't completely blown up. It was just that city, but still, odds are they would have died.
So, yeah, they would have been killed with everyone else.
If Forrest Whitaker didn't make it out, they didn't make it out.
Right, exactly. They were in the city before it went down.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to have boarded a ship to have flown out of there.
Right.
My other complaint, though, we do not need 2 CGI dead people.
CGI dead people. Oh God! I totally forgot about that part. You're right. That slipped my mind. Oh God!
I think it's a glaring flaw of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, New Hope was 40 years ago. We can accept Peter Cushing is no longer with us. I mean,
and cast
dearly
and recast the role with an actor of appropriate age who maybe looks a little like him.
I'm seeing the dude they had play him, Guy Henry. Looks
okay.
He looks like he could pass.
And we can accept that, Peter Cushing is dead and Carrie Fisher has aged, because that's the one that really annoyed me.
Yeah, both of those. I mean,
I was kind of okay with Tarkin because I couldn't really tell, but Carrie Fisher just looked wrong.
Visually, I think they both, it's stunningly done, and it's kind of funny how this one did not take any shit for that. When meanwhile, when Lucas did CGI characters, alien characters in the prequels, they were ready to crucify him for not putting actors in roles.
That's a good point.
Well, this literally took
roles away from actors.
Well,
no, there were actors. The bodies were actors. They just CGI'd the face.
Yeah,
but still, it did take away.
It's not full.
It was basically a stand-in.
Yeah, not cool.
No. And you could argue that at best was Jar Jar. He did the voice.
Definitely.
He made the moves. They just CG'd over him like they did these 2 actors.
He definitely did. I mean, he was a dancer, and that's why he had all the crazy movement and stuff with his body. He was actually doing that.
It's kind of a shame he was Jar Jar because it probably killed his career.
It's kind of a shame they couldn't have written a better character.
Yeah, well, yeah,
for
exactly.
Jar Jar. But
anyway, we're not talking about the prequels.
I like that they finally gave Bail Organa a better role than he had in the prequels.
But he hasn't really aged much.
Well, it's supposed to be one from the other, practically.
Well, no, it's about 20 years. Because this is this leads into A New Hope.
This is right in. So, wait a minute, though.
Well, no, it's been about 20 years since... You're right, it's been about 20 years. Wow. Ouch.
Yeah.
That hurts. Phantom Menace was 18 years ago. Ouch.
Yeah, Phantom Menace 18 years
19
ago.
almost.
We didn't see him until
the third
Sith,
one, right?
I don't think.
Yeah, second or third one, yeah.
He just had like a pained look on his face for most of it, and that was it. That's all they gave him to
do.
So
he actually has aged appropriately. It's kind of like Ian McDiarmid.
Pretty close, yeah.
So it was good to see him. A great casting for Mon Mothma.
Yes, fantastic casting for Mon Mothma.
I liked how it butted right up against New Hope.
I can see that. I mean, I loved, and I found this out later, that Lucas gave them the original helmets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed it right away that like Vader, had like the New Hope helmet.
Although
where you could see kind of through the eyepieces to like, which is how he was in A New Hope, and then like they got the mirror shades on him later on.
Right.
But yeah, Lucas actually gave them his helmets to use.
Although that does set up a slight plot hole with Vader, because he went all Zatoichi in the airlock, and then later on in New Hope he can barely move.
It would have been cool if they had somehow wounded him.
Yeah, that would have explained it. Speaking of explanations, I like the explanation for the big ass hole in the Death Star.
Oh, the why that flaw was there.
Yeah, that was nice. Nice to sew that up.
Very cool. And of course, and you mentioned him briefly, but the true star of the show, the man who stole this whole fucking movie, Mr. Alan Tudyk, of course.
Oh yeah, as K2. Loved K2. I was kind of disappointed that I didn't end up liking the movie because I was going to buy a K2 figure. I might still.
Just, I mean, a C-3PO Marvin the Paranoid Android. I mean,
yeah.
But yet a badass in the same breath, too. Yeah.
Probably my favorite Star Wars character, my side character at least, not counting the mains. I mean, Yoda and Obi-Wan are still up there, but as far as side characters, K2 definitely. Certainly my favorite of the new movies. Speaking of droids, you mentioned R2 and 3PO briefly.
Oh yeah, I forgot. They were there.
We really didn't need the cameo in the middle of the film. They could have stuck them on Tantive 4 at the end.
True.
It would have made more sense.
But they had the line of, why doesn't anybody tell me these things?
Yeah. It would have made sense if we saw them on Tantive 4 at the end and they had a little thing there, not sticking them in the middle of the film randomly. I think that covers it.
I think it does too. How many brains would you give it?
Oh, okay. Didn't think about this. I'll go 3. I didn't hate it. It was better than average.
Do you have like a how you'd rank?
Oh, okay.
The series?
Oh, it's right between Jedi and Sith for me.
That it's same here, really.
Well, which is interesting because we have the Jedi and Sith in different places. I mean, we have them right next to each other, but they're in very different places otherwise.
I would give it 4. So like a little bit better than Jedi and Clones and Force Awakens. Force Awakens. Really, I need for the trilogy to end because there's a lot of explaining I feel that needs to be done. If Force Awakens makes sense or not, is it going to be explained in the next 2 films? Actually,
come to think of it, that's our only big difference is where we put Force Awakens. Because it's still, I think, for both of us, top to bottom, Empire, New Hope, some order of Sith and Jedi, and this. And then for you put Force Awakens after those 2.
I've got it between Clones and Phantom Menace.
Yeah, you put it low. I have it right after New Hope. But aside from that, and maybe the order of Sith and Jedi, I put Jedi slightly ahead of Sith. You put it after, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Jedi, if it wasn't for the throne room lightsaber fight, then it would probably be
and the Dagobah
really
stuff.
Low.
And the Dagobah stuff, too, is good.
Yeah, they're not on Dagobah long enough in Jedi. He gets there and he's dying.
But, I mean, those are bright spots in the movie. The throne room saves it completely.
But the throne room. Not many people talk about that enough, I don't think,
And it's easily the best part of the movie.
It's the fucking Ewoks that really ruin it.
Yeah. Well, it's not just the Ewoks. It's the movie in general is weak, except for the throne room and the Dagobah stuff. We talked about this in episode 100.3 or 100C, whatever you want to call it, the third of those. So, all right, I'll talk at you next week with Secretary.
Yes, our work is done here.